that mean that they're all identical?
Are they all identical? They shouldn't.
Mitose.
But when they undergo meiosis, you're only going to get one of each pair of chromosomes, so they're not going to be identical because which one you got would make it different, right?
Yeah. So there's just like a bunch of clumps then?
Okay, so the pollen grain, hard coating, inside that, you have a big cell. I think there's a picture of it. Why? I drew it, but it's the generative cell. And then you have another cell called the tube cell. And they're haploid. Okay? The generative cell is going to undergo mitosis and form two sperm. Okay? And the tube cell is going to grow into the pollen tube. So we're going to get to that in a minute. So it is multicellular because each pollen grain contains multiple cells, which is why it's considered kind of an organism, why they call it the gametophyte. Yeah.
Does the pollen grain include the stamen? Or just like that top?
The pollen grain are just these tiny little round, it's just a little round hard coating with the two cells in it. So the pollen grain itself, like when you see pollen, it's only because there's like a lot of it. It's not like you could see an individual pollen grain very well.
That's amazing.
Okay, so that's basically how you create the pollen grains, and they're created in the anthers. And then the embryo sac is created basically the same way. The cells undergo meiosis and then mitosis. But now let's go over the structure of the embryo sac. Does everybody have the structure of the pollen grain down? Generative cell, tube cell. Okay, embryo sac has 7 cells. And you do need to know all 7 cells. Now this is where you're not going to be able to see it really well, and we can pass this around. Okay, there's 3 teeny tiny, see this big pink cell? Okay, that is called the central cell. So that's easy. These little cells, there's 3 tiny cells on top of it, and we'll pass it around. Those are called antipodal cells. Okay, and they're at the top. We don't know what they do. And they disintegrate after fertilization. Okay, at the bottom there's 3 little cells as well. Can you kind of see them? And there's one that's a little bit red. It has like a red outline around it. Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
Tiny little red cell right there.
Yes.
That's the egg.
The one? Just the one?
Yes. Just so each carpel. In this particular example, it just has one embryo sac. Each embryo sac has 1 egg. You could have multiple ovaries, though, in a flower. Okay, it just depends on the flower. Sometimes you have multiple ovaries, sometimes you have multiple, well, if you have multiple ovaries, you actually have multiple carpels. You have like a whole bunch of, like a sunflower.
Oh.
The whole middle, it's just lots and lots and lots of carpels. So you can have multiple of those in the flower, but, okay. So you have the egg, and then these 2 cells next to the egg, which you probably can't see, are called synergids. And you know synergy means like working together. We do know what they do. Okay, so we have antipodal cells, we have central cell, we have synergids, and then we have the egg, and all of those together make the embryo sac, which is the female gametophyte, which lives in the ovary.
So the central cell is just the thing that holds everything, the big pink.
No, it's actually, these are separate, like this is a separate cell, it's just gigantic, and then there's 3 tiny little cells above it, and 3 tiny cells below it, and it's encased, the whole entire thing is called the embryo sac. So these cells are not inside the central cell, they're like around it.
Are those the 2?
Antipodal.
No, I know, but I was saying, so which one's the central cell? Pink.
Yes, it's colored in pink.
Okay.
Okay. Now, AP test loves angiosperm reproduction because it's weird, which means flowering plant reproduction, because it happens very differently. So this is like the key. They always, I would be shocked if they didn't ask about this, like how the fertilization actually takes place. So you may not see like a plant where it's like asking you to label the thing, but you're likely to see questions about how reproduction happens, and you won't be able to explain it if you don't know the vocab. Okay, so let's just go through like what happens when fertilization happens so we can get this whole thing down, and we'll go through it like this. Okay, pollen lands on the stigma. water gets taken into the pollen that activates it, and the generative cell becomes two sperm. The tube cell gets activated and actually starts growing. And you guys see this orange thing here? That's the pollen tube. You gotta think like human fertilization, the sperm are swimming through a liquid. Not so in a plant. So basically the sperm, like how do the sperm get from here all the way down to the little egg and fertilize it? This pollen tube grows down through the whole carpel, down into the ovary and up, right into this tiny little opening that opens up into the egg. I don't really care if you know that vocab, it's called a micropyle, but it's like the little opening where the pollen tube grows into. So it actually grows right up to the egg. And as the pollen tube grows, the sperm follow it right down the tube. So when we pass this around, there's 3 little purple dots there. The first purple dot closest to the egg is the nucleus of the tube cell that just keeps elongating, which is pretty amazing. Then the other 2 are the 2 sperm.
So there's 2 sperm.
So it only grows once the pollen sticks and takes water in, right? If it's different species. I mean, if it's like species but different plants.
So is this like one
Okay.
thing with the 2 cells
So
on it?
do they have to be 2 sperm?
It always is 2 sperm. Yes, it has to. Always 2 sperm. I'm gonna explain why.
Okay.
In a pollen grain, there's 2 sperm.
The generative cell becomes 2 sperm and both sperm fertilize, but not the egg. I'm gonna talk about that. That's where we're going.
Is that what makes it like freaky compared to these like
Yes.
human ones? It's like only one or else
I
it's.
see,
Yes. Yeah. Receptors.
It's always the answer.
But yeah, but it's true.
One sperm from pollen and one sperm from
Pollen tube. Isn't that nice? Thank goodness. It's not like Kabronsky's tube of, you know, pointers. Yeah, right.
Pollen tube goes so what's the pollen pollen tube grows from the stick.
No one knows who said that.
Right up to the
Sophia.
end.
Oops, I guess
Now,
I did
how does
now.
the pollen tube know which direction to elongate in? Why doesn't it like grow out the top? These little synergid cells release a chemical that attracts the pollen tube to the micropyle, like to that little opening. So basically these synergids are sending out a signal, come here. And that's actually their main job, is to signal the pollen tube where to grow. So then the sperm come down, there's 2 of them. One fertilizes the egg. This is the critical part they always ask about on the AP test. And the other one, weirdly enough, fertilizes the central cell. Okay, I know.
Fertilize.
So it's called double
Some mystery.
fertilization. And it always happens that way. There's always 2 sperm. One always fertilizes the egg. One always fertilizes the central cell.
That has everything but the end to. Why does it?
Why
It's
is it,
just the central
why do
cell.
both of those need to be
Like
fertilized?
that ring.
Wait, oh, Miss Chamness.
Polar nuclei.
Which belong to the central cell.
Wait, Miss Chamness.
Oh.
Is that why there's like 2 like sperm cells in one of the little what's it called?
No.
Things
Okay,
on the
so now I'm getting
annulus?
there.
Okay.
Okay, guys.
No.
Other key thing they always
I was
like to
wrong.
ask you, because there is nothing else in
Wrong.
biology that's like this. See these 2 black things inside the central cell? They are nuclei. In any other case, like when a normal sperm fertilizes an egg, you have 2 nuclei, the sperm nucleus and the egg nucleus. They fuse together into one nucleus. Your cells don't have 2 nuclei, do they? This central cell has 2 nuclei, 2 haploid nuclei. So it's just weird. And that's why they're called polar nuclei. When the sperm fertilize it, they have 3 sets of DNA. So they're triploid. It's the only cell that I know of on Earth that exists as a triploid cell. That's why they like to ask about it. So it's called double fertilization because you fertilize the egg and the central cell. The central cell already has 2 nuclei, and then the sperm adds the 3rd haploid nuclei. When the sperm fertilizes, those 3 nuclei actually fuse into one. but it's one with 3 sets of DNA.
Then how can you code? I thought that like, the whole, I don't know.